Welcome to Empire Building. I'm Wendy Papazan, and together with my 4 co-hosts, we bring you weekly unfiltered conversations about leadership, growing a big empire, and living on your own terms.
I'm Kimber Levitt-Keaty. We are investors and wealth builders with over $75 million in combined net worth.
I'm Sarah Reynolds. We are visionaries who built more than 50 businesses with over $122 million in annual revenue.
I'm Tiffany Fikes. We've led thousands of people and do it all while being pretty good moms.
And I'm Seychelle Van Poole. We are your podcast to learn how to build big businesses and even bigger lives.
Welcome to Empire Building Podcast. Hello, my beautiful ladies. This is Wendy Papazan, and we're so excited to have you guys here with us today.
Hello.
Hi, ladies.
I've got Seychelle and Kimber with me, and today's episode is all about one of the most powerful tools in any leader's toolkit, which is sales communication. Really, customer service is good communication. And, whether you're selling a product, a vision, or maybe even yourself, great communication is what sets top producers apart. So today, we're going to break down 8 key skills that will help you connect faster, influence, and close with confidence. So we're so excited to bring this to you guys today.
I am so excited. I think this is honestly the number one skill that makes or breaks someone from going from like an okay, decent money earner to like exponential money earner. I feel like if you can master this skill set, everything else becomes easier. So I am super pumped about this. And the first, are you guys good if we dive in? Because this is so good.
Yeah, let's dive.
Let's do it.
So the first thing that every exceptional salesperson needs to know is that you need to make it about them, not you. When you are selling and you immediately are like, oh my gosh, me too. Oh my gosh, me too. They don't care. Nobody as a client cares about you in that moment. They care about how you're meeting their needs. And this is the number one rule in sales communication is it needs to be all about them. Your buyers don't care about your practicing. They don't care about your pitch. They don't care about your product features. They care about how it solves their problem. And I think about this all the time when you walk into stores and someone will say to you like, oh, how can I help you? How can I help you? How can I help you? Well, they don't know what your problem is yet. What I love about when you walk into a place like Nordstrom's is when you walk in there, they don't come and jump on you right away. They observe you walking through the store. They observe what you're picking up. And then as they watch you pick up, let's say like a pair of white heels, right? They go, oh, if you like that, this one over there also is on sale and also has probably a similar size to what you're looking for. Do you want me to go get a pair of those for you too? They're observing what you need. They're observing what your interests are, and then they're solving your problem instead of immediately just trying to jump on the sale. And I think we all know someone that has commission breath, right? It is, how many times have you walked into somewhere and somebody is just like oozy selling all over you? You don't want that. So solve someone's problem, observe what they're needing, ask questions, and move into that.
And when you think about like the tactics of that, right? So like, how does that actually show up? And tactically, really thinking about how you lead with the benefits of something and not the features, right? Of what you're offering, of the product, like how that then relates to their goals. And we're going to talk about that more, but really understanding what is it that they're trying to do and how do the benefits of that offer actually support them. A lot of that's even, as say you were just talking about, right? Like the you language. Here's how this could help you. This is what this could mean for you, for your family, for your team, right? Like being able to really understand how that's ultimately going to be a benefit for them, especially based on what you already know about those needs. And the discovery questions are really going to help us get there. So much we talk about like, are you telling, selling? Like, what are you really trying to do? And are you opening? Do you have those questions, right? Where you're really trying to understand what it is, what are the pain points, right? What are some of the biggest struggles? What are the things like, how do they live, right? In our sales process, if you're thinking about even just home buying, right? How do they live? What's important to them? What do they like to do? They like to walk around because that's going to help you identify something that better meets and matches their needs. And then to say, we use it like these relatable challenges, you're going to think about what you're sharing. I know for me, sometimes like even in our hiring process, I have to really like hold back like the place where I connect, where I'm like, oh, I went there too. I went to that school too. But where are the true like relatable connection points that you don't have to do on every single one that are really going to help build that trust and rapport quickly?
Yeah, I love that. And just as a add on to what you're saying, Kimber, is just to mirror their energy and their language. I personally think mirroring and matching is probably the skill that I see the least actually among salespeople that I think is really powerful. So for instance, yesterday I got a phone call from a buyer who's moving from New Jersey. He's originally from Texas. Older gentleman, a very slow talker with a bit of a Southern accent. So immediately, because I'm kind of a quicker talker. And so immediately my pace slowed down. I have a imperceptible accent that I threw out there, and he doesn't know. He's never met me, right? But that immediately builds rapport because there's not this sort of like cognitive dissonance against like I'm talking so fast and in my whatever way, and then he's got a very slow pace, and that's about making it about them, not about you. So I think as leaders, we just have to keep that in mind, that it's always about who we're leading, it's always about the customer, and it's not about yourself. And the best salespeople, they understand this intuitively.
If you don't have it intuitively, then you have to practice it to where it becomes something that feels like it is intuitive. So I love that, Wendy. It's such a good point. The second skill that you need to pick up is you want to listen like you're closing. And salespeople lose deals not from saying the wrong thing, but not from hearing the right tone. And how many times have we watched someone where they're just not hearing what we're saying, and you're trying to get a purchase across, or you're trying to buy something, and they're so in their head with going through all their steps, or they're not listening to the fact that you're ready to sign the paperwork, you're ready to close the deal. I think about this when we were car shopping. We would walk into dealerships, and there was this whole spiel they would want to give you before you could tour the car. And the dealership that got our business was the one that was willing to give us the price over the phone, knew we had what we wanted in stock, and we literally walked in, signed the paperwork, and bought it. But there was no sales pitch at all. And I literally would say to every dealership, like, I don't need to come in and drive it. I've already driven it. I don't need to come into you to hear the price. I don't need any of that. Just literally give me your price. And if you have it in stock, and I will come buy the car from you today. And it took us 20 dealerships to get to the point where one would give us the price over the phone. And it was in the middle of Jackson, Michigan. We literally bought it on the way driving to Michigan because it was from Texas to Michigan, the only dealership that had it in stock that was willing to give us the price over the phone. And Jerry got our business. That's amazing. But it's because he was listening to what we needed and was willing to go ahead and close it right there. And literally, it was probably the easiest sale for him ever. So actionable listening, cut out those distractions, cut out the whole pitch that you think you have to do, right? And also I think about, are you actively listening when someone is calling you? Or are you having 20 other things running through your brain?
Or are you driving?
Or are you driving, right? Do you need to pull over for a second so you can take notes and actively listen? And that's something I found is really helpful, is actually sitting there taking notes while they're talking, because it slows my brain down to really listen to what they're saying. And I'll say, can I take some notes because I really want to hear what you're saying right now? Nod, make eye contact, take notes, show them that they are what's most important in this moment and that you are all in meeting those needs for them.
Yeah, I think that is a pro hack for our empire builders, this idea of taking notes. Because the reality is I know for me, we live completely distracted, right? I've got things on, my alerts are on, so it's not even sometimes I'm not actively listening. Well, I'm definitely not actively listening, but it's that I'm also trying to process all the other things that are going on. And then you cut a soundbite and you're focusing in. So I think this note taking is super helpful. I take notes now constantly. I'm always can I take notes real quick? But I think also playing it back, right? Paraphrase what you just said. And this I think is both in sales, it's in life, right? This has been one of the best things that we have a parenting coach for my boys. This idea of so what I'm hearing you say is just play it back. Because a lot of times, even when we're actively listening, they're well, that's not exactly it, or you didn't quite get it. But it really allows somebody to feel heard and make sure that you got it right. And responding to the emotion, acknowledging the emotion. This is both a sales skill. I also think an incredible skill for de-escalating high conflict situations. That sounds really frustrating. That's exciting. I can understand why you're really disappointed. After you've gotten it, did I hear that right? That's incredibly disappointing. I can see how that would be frustrating. Just allowing people to be seen and have their emotion acknowledged really allows you to both build that connection and rapport and also help you when things get a little tense in some of these situations.
Yeah, so good. And then really just listen for pain points between the lines, So in Keller Williams, we call this going 3 deep. So I might be asking you, Seychelle, why are you moving to Colorado? And you're telling me, I'm going to be closer to my parents. And I'm then asking another question. Why is it important for you to be closer to your parents? Oh, well, my dad is really sick, So this idea of kind of listening between the lines, especially with somebody you don't know, and asking further questions to get clarity around it. So number 2 is listen like you're closing.
I love that. And it's so good. You miss so much when you're not actively listening. So I think it's so good. Number 3 is clarity converts. Say less, close more. That is a beautiful one for me to continue learning throughout my entire life. So, long-winded pitches kill momentum. And if it takes too long to explain, you are losing trust because now they feel like you're trying to convince them and sell to them instead of consult with them. So if you can tighten up your message and use fewer words with stronger impact, you're going to go so much farther. And I want you to think about what's your elevator pitch? If you have 3 floors with someone, what's your message, right? You have 30 seconds. This is not a 15-minute TED Talk. You got 30 seconds to really catch somebody's attention. And I also think about translating jargon into simple outcomes. Instead of giving them this whole long, we sell our homes for 93% of list price with multiple offers and all these things. Really what you're saying to them is, we're going to sell your home for more money and we're going to save you time, right? That's the conversation right there. Then if somebody asks for details, you can give them how you do that, but give them the shortened version of that first.
And I think the simplicity also challenges for our own understanding. Can you say it simply? It has to be able to, translate to a 12-year-old. Can somebody actually understand what you said? And when we're sometimes because we have such broad knowledge about a topic, we're dumping that information onto somebody and it's completely overwhelming and actually slows down their ability to actually work through the sales cycle because it's overwhelming and they're trying to process all the information. I think this is also a place where I was just going to give another a AI hack, right? Using ChatGPT, if you have a paragraph, you have something, write it out and then put it in and say, hey, can you simplify this message? If you're really struggling to take something that you're communicating and simplifying the message, that's just another way to do it and get another perspective.
I love that. Well, and sometimes I think we go on and on about things because we don't exactly know what we're talking about, So it's actually harder to be simple. It's harder to write simply. It requires more skill than just to go on and on about something. So yeah, that's so good.
I think that's what makes the author Steinbeck so special. But Hemingway too, both of them are able to write so simply. It's actually harder than if you were writing a 1,000-page novel. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before ChatGPT, there is an app called the Hemingway app. You can upload, documents or whatever you're doing into that. And it helps you simplify it to, I think, a 4th grade reading level, which is what Hemingway wrote at.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Most newspapers are written at a 5th grade reading level.
At 5th grade. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what you're going for. Yeah. I think a lot of us like to overcomplicate things because we think it sounds better or more important or all that kind of stuff. But especially in a world of, where we're just bombarded by information all the time, clarity is really important. So yeah, number 3 is clarity converts. And number 4 goes along with that, speak with purpose and embrace the pause. So embracing the pause is letting the silence do the heavy lifting. And I personally believe every sales conversation, every important conversation that you're having, every meeting that you're having, you should roll into it with a little bit of intention. So I think sometimes we just show up to meetings and we're like, oh my gosh, what do we need to talk about? And a better practice is to take 5 minutes or 10 minutes before every meeting and think what do I want the outcome to be from this meeting? What do I really want the outcome to be? Most of us don't even operate that way. And every sales conversation should be that way. If you're in real estate and you're trying to get a sale, well, the intention is I'm going to walk away with a sale. If you're having a meeting with, somebody on your team, like what do you want the outcome of that meeting to be? It may not happen, right? But it's going to be a lot more likely to happen if you walk into that meeting with intention.
I also think too, something that I have struggled with and gotten much better at over the last several years is to give a pause. Let them think for a second. Let them process. Let them say yes. Sometimes you are so quick into your pitch, you don't even allow them the opportunity to take you up on it. And so something that I learned early in my career is I would tap after I would ask a question to the side of my leg, just underneath the table or kind of behind my back. Like I would tap until 5 or until 10 to give somebody time to process that. And when I go train our team members on appointments, I intentionally try to sit close enough to them that I can honestly smack them under the table if I need them to zip it for a second. Because sometimes it's not that they're disagreeing with you. They just need a second to process it and then say yes to you.
Well, especially if you are a quick processor, which you are super quick, Seychelle, you're like one of the fastest on the planet, I have to think. And we're all quick processor. I know Sarah's not. And what I love about her, she's always telling people how she's not, which is really helpful.
It's helped us so much in our relationship.
Yeah. So I think you need to know whether you're a slow or a quick processor. My director of operations, who's amazing, she uses the pause a lot. And it's tricky for me because I always end up talking over her a little bit. But now that I know that, I'm, definitely trying to get better at it. But yeah, the pause is golden.
Power of pause is amazing. I think something else too that is a pause that you can build into a system, which is like when you're drafting a text or an email, draft it without the person's name and the to. Like draft it without the name there and this, like for who you're sending it to first, and draft it. Make sure it's what you want before you put their name in and then send. It's a good, like, especially if you're a fast processor, how many times have you drafted something and sent it and maybe it didn't quite hit the needle, or maybe you accidentally had stuff in there you really weren't ready to send yet. And so that's been a way to slow myself down as I draft the body first and then I put who it's going to afterwards, because it then is really ready to send and I don't accidentally fire something off before it's really ready or before it can get the full intention that it needs to get.
But if you're an overthinker, be careful about doing this.
Yes.
You can waste your whole life doing this if you're an overthinker.
Yes. If you're that, go ahead and put the name in first. And the moral of the story is with the pause, it is so powerful, right? Confidence lives in silence. So don't be afraid to take a beat and take a minute and give some pause so that the other side has time to get their response together for you.
That was powerful tactics around number 4, which was speak with purpose and embrace the pause. So nice job, ladies. Number 5 is storytelling that sells, right? At the end of the day, right, facts tell, but stories tell, right? We've often heard like logic makes you think and emotion makes you act. So the sales cycle, right, the goal is to get people into action. So we're communicating with them, really having ahead of time built in, like to your sales cycle or into your process when you're sitting down with somebody, mini case studies, how your clients won, how agents on your team, how their business grew, understanding some of those, both the story, but also anchoring it with a little bit of the detail, right? So like on average, here's an average of a person on our team. They joined with us within the first 3 months. This was the result that they had. This is what that meant for them. This is what it created for their lives, right? Kind of walking them through really builds trust and makes your message much more memorable. You think about even our own experiences. You've gone and heard a speaker talk. You've heard somebody, they might talk for 20 minutes. And most of the time, what stays with us was the thing that we connected with around a personal story. So it's a really great opportunity to even think and reflect on, hey, why am I doing this? Why was this important? What impact did I have? In the last first quarter of the year, what really stood out to me? What am I most proud of and why? Those are good places to get to the stories that are going to help incorporate them in, whether that's your team, whether that's the business side, what you're working on, and helping to get more of a result.
So good. Yeah. And there are lots of frameworks for storytelling. You know, there's Feel, Felt, Found. We've talked about that before. A nice story framework is just set the scene, introduce the challenge, and deliver the transformation. So this could look like right now, if you're in real estate, the scene is a buyer doesn't want to move forward with a purchase because they're worried about what's going on, in the world right now. So the story is, oh yeah, recently I had another buyer who was also worried about buying a house because of what was going on in the world. And then they really understood that, the important thing for them right now was not to wait until everything was perfect, but was to, get into a house so they could start building equity for their family. So really like setting that scene, introducing the challenge, and then delivering the transformation. That's like a classic human construct of stories, and then tie it to your offer, which is, every story should end with, and here's how that can be true for you too. So you can do exactly what this other buyer of mine did, and you too can start building equity for your family. One of the things that we're doing on our team right now is we're practicing what I call a hot stat. Actually, I got this from one of our coaches, Megan Henry, and she's helped every agent on our team come up with a hot stat. And that can look like there are 12,000 houses for sale in the Austin, Texas market right now, whereas 3 years ago, there was only 1,200. We have 10x the amount of time. Or whatever their hot stat is. A lot of times the hot stat is a story. But, what is your hot stat so that you can have a conversation with someone and talk to them about real estate? So, and then just use metaphors that your audience understands.
Number 6 is present like a pro. And this is even on sales calls. So whether you are in person, on Zoom, over the phone, you need to have a structure to this. And structure means credibility. And so here are some sales presentation tips if you're looking at that you want to have. The first is you want to open with a strong benefit-based hook. And so, for example, if you're in real estate and I'm talking to a relocation person moving here, let's say from Michigan, right? Something that we could say is to say, a lot of our team members are actually Dallas-Fort Worth natives. And one of the most important things we want to do is help you match your lifestyle goals to the house and neighborhood that you're going to live in. Not just sell you a home, but we actually want to help you figure out the lifestyle that you want. That's a benefit-based hook to help them find their life that they want to have here locally. The second one you want is to use the rule of 3. That's a maximum of 3 points per slide. That means not 20, but 3 at max. And you want to give them 3 reasons during the presentation to act now. And I also think you need to close multiple times. And so if you're only asking at the very end of the presentation, you've missed all the opportunity along the way. So make sure you're giving them reasons to act now during the conversation or during your sales pitch so that by the end, it's a natural yes. They've already had opportunities to close the whole way through.
Yeah, I think that's such a key one, right? Say it's not just having that call to action at the very end of a presentation, but also looking for it all the way through. I know when we're actually, Kim Barton, right, one of our members of our Her Best Life community was teaching a listings class for us a couple weeks ago. And she said half the time, like I close early in the listing presentation, like I hand them the pin, right? I look for the opportunity. Like I might have this whole presentation, but if there's an opportunity to close, I go for it, right? Like you'll have those closes built in, not just at the very end, but being really clear on what your final call to action is, right? Being able to set it up. Hey, we're going to practice. This is what we're going to go through today. This is what I want to really focus you on. Here's our program that helps our sellers sell within the first, 3 weeks that they're on the market. I'm going to walk you through the 3 steps that we use to do that. And at the end, we're going to wrap this up so that we can get you started. I think this idea of also just time, like when there's an open set of time, like, hey, we can just like, whenever you're ready, we'll sign, versus saying like, hey, we actually, I know on the agent side, when we're onboarding agents, we talk about, we only do this onboarding twice a month so that we only have 1 more left, or like, here's the time. There's a deadline, right? We've got 6 steps to 6 figures. The next cohort is launching on Monday. So I'm excited to have you in there. I think I have 1 or 2 slots left, but that means we have to make a decision today. Like giving them some urgency around the decision and being clear on what the call to action is. So just here's the next step. I think this is also great with just meeting. If you're even having a team meeting, as Wendy said in the beginning, you're going to set the attention. And then at the end, you want to make sure it's really clear. What's our next step? What's the action that everybody needs to take on the sales side, but also for those that you're leading?
Yeah. And then number 7 is really just be likable. I've said this before on stage. Likability is totally underrated as a superpower. It's a sales superpower. But it's not just about charm, because, you've met those like quote unquote charming people who are a little too charming, a little too smarmy,
too polished,
a little too polished. Yeah, where you're immediately feeling like slightly suspicious about what they're doing. It's really about presence. This is really, about rapport building. And so you always want to be curious, not just confident, right? So think about if you're at a dinner party and you've got two people seated next to you, one on your right and one on your left, and the person on your right is asking you questions all evening about yourself. You think, wow, that person was a really great conversationalist. And then you've got the person on your left who's just talking about themselves the whole night. It's the same in sales. Like, people want to be heard. They want to be seen. They want to feel connection. And the best way to feel connection is to ask people really powerful questions. Acknowledge their emotions. I think Seychelle referred to this earlier, which is just using empathy as a sales tool. People make decisions based around their feelings. They think they're making decisions around their thoughts, right? They think they're making decisions around sort of numbers and data and things like that, but they're always making decisions around their feelings. Yeah. And then a little vulnerability goes a long way. Okay, in any kind of sales situation. This can be whether you're trying to get an agent to join your team. It can be when you're having a conversation with a brand new seller. Talking about your mistakes builds immediate trust and rapport. And authenticity is, people want to do business with a real person.
Yeah.
I can remember, actually, we have this thing in Austin. It's called the Platinum Top 50. It's like one of these sales things that they do. But I had a seller call me up once and she said, you were the only person out of all the people that I was reading about that sounded like a real person. So that's why we called you.
I love it.
There's this kind of shiny idea of being, a shiny luxury agent or whatever. But the reality is people want to do business with people, right? People, they know
like.
love and trust.
Yes.
Yeah, know love and trust. Yep. So,
and that approachability in that, right? Like it makes it more easier. Okay, it's already intimidating a lot of times if you have information that somebody else doesn't. So I think it does like, okay, great. Wendy's just a regular person. Like I would want to sit down and have a glass of wine with her.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. I think that's so good. Well, I am hoping that you picked up some things that you heard today that maybe are not in your repertoire right now, or maybe that your sales team needs to hear. So we're going to give you a quick recap of those 7 essential sales communication skills so that you can level up your business, level up your income, and level up your conversion. So the first one is make it about them. Okay. Make it about them. Number 2 is listen to understand. Make sure you're actively listening. And if you don't do that naturally, put some systems around that to help you. Number 3 is keep it clear and keep it concise. Can you say it on 3 floors of an elevator ride? If you cannot, it is too long.
Yeah, this isn't a 66-floor elevator ride.
We're not going to the top of the Empire State Building here.
We're not
okay?
New York.
This is not Buddy the Elf where you stop on every floor. This is, you got 3 floors. 3 floors to get it across. And then number 4 on that is to speak with purpose. I love that. Know your intention walking in. Today, we're going to cover X. My goal for today is X, right? I hope we can do X in our meeting today, right? Come in with a clear intention because I think people love to know what the goal is because then they know what to look for as you're moving through the presentation.
Number 5, right, we talked about tell stories that convert and connect. This is an opportunity to weave in real examples so that people really have a connection to a real case study experience. Number 6, right, present with structure. Make sure you really have, hey, these are the things we're going to do. We identify a call to action, be clear on what you want to have, and do that throughout, right? Not just waiting until the end of the full deck. Build that in throughout your presentation. And then last, right, be likable, authentic, be the person that you are, right, behind, like put the mask down, be who you are. It's okay to have vulnerability. It's okay to tell the truth, right, of where have you struggled, where did you have gaps. It's actually what builds trust and connection. And you ultimately, like, people want to do business with people they like. And so leaning into that. Because at the end of the day, right, every sales interaction we have, right, personally, professionally, is a chance to build trust, to solve problems, and ultimately to invite people into action. And it all starts with how we communicate, not just with ourselves, but with everybody else. So we invite you to pick one sales skill that you can sharpen this week to go deeper. If you heard something on this that you think somebody in your world, we also invite you to share. You can click the share and send this episode to somebody in your life, maybe who you would like to see implement one of these sales skills. It's also a great tool to have this with your team, listen to a bit of it, part of it, and then use that to help frame a team meeting and conversation about how you guys can deepen your sales skills together. So we would love to hear your takeaways. Drop us a review and certainly share this episode with somebody that you think might benefit from it.
Love it. Thanks, guys. Y'all make it a great week.
Have a great week. Thank you.
This podcast is for general informational purposes only. The views, thoughts, and opinions of the guest represent those of the guest and not Keller Williams Realty LLC and its affiliates, and should not be construed as financial, economic, legal, tax, or other advice. This podcast is provided without any warranty or guarantee of its accuracy, completeness, timeliness, or results from using the information. Any text or materials generated by artificial intelligence, AI, should be reviewed for accuracy and reliability, as there may be errors, omissions, or inaccuracies.